Member for Saanich North and Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to Bill 46, the South Coast B.C. Transportation Authority Amendment Act, and just to provide my comments, our comments on behalf of the BC Green Caucus after hearing the member of the official opposition speak to this bill. It really does kind of make your it's quite shocking, frankly, to hear the perspective that was put forward. This perspective that we are going to be one of the only metropolitan areas in the world that's going to be fighting for parking, and not taking the money that we need to be and investing it in transit and moving people around metropolitan areas like Metro Vancouver in a more efficient and effective way. How, to the members' comments, how are we going to support small business, or how does government support small business? Well, it provides proper transit and transportation infrastructure in this province, something which hasn't happened over the years, and part of the reason why we're facing congestion in getting into the areas of Surrey and into the areas of Delta is because there isn't a proper long-term transportation plan in this province that was inherited by this government just a few 15 or so months ago. So to hear this ridiculous argument that was made just a few minutes ago about how the impact on job creators, the impact on job creators has been tremendous. The fact that there hasn't been enough investment in the Lower Mainland, that frankly, the former government forced the people into a referendum to talk about, just because they simply could not bear to have a discussion about raising the money that was needed to be raised in order to make the investments that needed to be made to support the families and the people, frankly, my generation and those that need the transit and the transportation networks. Those investments weren't made. So it was really difficult to just stand up here and speak to Bill 46 and not get dragged into the swamp and have to make some of these comments that are made in direct response to, frankly, the ridiculous arguments, the absurd arguments that were made about Delta and about Surrey, dragging into issues around the Mayor's Council and what a new mayor of Surrey's campaign was about, ignoring the fact, of course, that new mayor of Surrey's got a council and they've got to work through those issues, and then that mayor's got to go and have the conversation at the Mayor's Council with all the other mayors, and that Mayor's Council actually has a job to do, and that we here in this place, or at least this member from this seat, and maybe even representing the two other seats to my left here, respect the fact that the Mayor's Council has a job that it will do. And it will sit down and it will take a look at what the Mayor's Council 10-year plan will be, and it will maybe revise some of those things. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will come forward and say, look, we still stand on this plan that we've got. And I expect that for the most part, we're going to hear that the vast majority of that Mayor's Council plan is going to be moved forward, and that there might be some amendments, and that's the job that they have to do. But to have members opposite here stand up and speak on behalf of the Mayor's Council, like has been going on the last few days, to me is frankly completely inappropriate, and it should be called out for that, because we have the Mayor of Surrey will stand up and speak on behalf of what he heard during the election and speak on behalf of his constituents, but frankly he's got a very important job ahead as he and his new council will sit down and the mayor, unless things change since I got from the council table just a few short years ago, the mayor has to also reflect the will of his council, and as well the Mayor's Council, which is the broader group in Metro, will have to reflect, and the chair of that Mayor's Council will have to reflect the will of the council in its entirety. So it's really critical here that we're not standing up in this place and inappropriately reflecting views that I think have yet to be formulated, frankly. And so I find that very problematic. And to the point of what the cost on parking, increasing the cost on parking, the reality is that the world's changing. And the former member who spoke was the former Minister of Transportation. And the fact that that during his time in this place as the Minister of Transportation, we don't have ride hailing, to me is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that that was allowed to just continue to go on the way it was, that we're not providing people in our society, people in the Lower Mainland, the kind of transportation need, or the answers to the transportation questions that they have, the needs that they have, and then you can stand in this place and talk about what the cost of this is going to be. What's the cost of congestion on those families? What's the cost of congestion on a family, on a father or a mother, my peer group who's sitting in their car because they couldn't get access to the right kind of transportation infrastructure because the former government wouldn't make those investments in improving the transit system. So they're sitting in their car while the dance class is going on or while the soccer practice is going on. We hear a lot of bluster about it, but the fact of the matter is that there's an incredible cost to congestion. And while we're here fighting for more parking, we're not making the investments that are needed and the decisions that are needed to generate the revenue to invest right back into the community in transportation and transit. And we look across North America and we see other metro areas that have been able to do this in a responsible, respectful way, been able to generate the revenue that's necessary to invest back in. And this is what Bill 46 starts to do. It starts to recognize that we are actually in a changing world. And I know that some members opposite don't like to admit that the world is changing. They'd like to just see the world remain in the status quo the same way that it's always been for the last 16 years or whatever it was, and to just stay right where it was. But the fact of the matter is the world is changing. And we have got to get on with being a part of that world that's changing and not dig our heels in and still fight for the same old things that we've been fighting for, like the dinosaur world. And we need to actually start to embrace the change that's here. And this is one part of it. And transit will be a major part of the changes ahead. So I'm going to sit down. I think that from my comments, you might sense that I and my colleagues will be supporting this bill. But thank you for the opportunity to speak to it, Mr. Speaker.